introductions. So I'll go first. I'm Evan Saint-Gerard with Keller Realty. I'm a licensed real estate professional. Queens, Brooklyn, Long Island, the Bronx. We work pretty much everywhere. And as you can see from the little stick figures, that's me right there, and that's Dean. So Dean, you go ahead. You introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Dean Graber. I work at Keller Williams also. Been there for 10 years. I work with Evantz as a team. And again, we cover Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, and Long Island. And we're here with our favorite realtor, our favorite mortgage lender and attorney.
Hey, how are you? My name is Billy Gionis. I'm a vice president of Freedom Mortgage. I've been in business for over 22 years and love to assist you with any questions you may have and any financing questions you may need. I'm around 24/7, so you can call or text me on my cell anytime.
Billy, where do you work from?
I work currently from my house, unfortunately, but I'm primarily located in either Melville, Long Island, or in Queens Village, New York.
All right, awesome. And last but not least, Eric Firestone. You want to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Eric Firestone. I'm a real estate attorney. I have my firm is located in Fresh Meadows, Queens. I also have an office in Manhattan. I've been practicing since 1996, so that's going on 25 years or so. We are a dedicated real estate firm. Myself and my paralegals, we are available and accessible to you to help guide you through a real estate transaction, whether you're buying or selling. I'm available to like Billy, I'm available to my clients days, evenings, weekends. I'm around. So if you need help or you have any concerns, I'm always there to address them. And we're there to make sure that you have all your legal rights protected during a real estate transaction.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Just a couple of ground rules. Just want to give you guys. We have the chat room. Basically, there's a Q&A right next to participants, depending on what device you're looking at. For you, the people that are watching this, basically just go to the Q&A, ask your questions there. I'll be monitoring them, and we'll answer them live. We also have poll questions will pop up from time to time. So we're gonna kind of free ball this one. So basically, I'm gonna find out. I see Adele, April, Lanisha, and Selma. What questions do you currently have about the process? What do you want us to start with? So just feel free to put something in the chat or go to the Q&A on the bottom of the screen. Don't be shy. All right, so we got a question. All right, here we go. Hold on a second. First question, VA loans. All right, so Billy, you're up. Let's talk about VA loans.
Okay. So VA loans are an amazing product for a lot of our veterans. What they do is they allow you to purchase a home up to 100% financing with no money out of pocket. The best things about these loans is that the interest rates are amazing right now. So if it's something you're interested in doing, the VA loans are very easy to qualify for. They're only for the spouse and the veteran. So you can't have another person on. It has to be the legal spouse in order to obtain a VA loan. We would require for the veterans either your DD-214 or certificate of eligibility. With that, we can approve you. I think the current limits are $748,250 per single family house. So you can borrow up to 100% financing up to that high if you do qualify. You do need to have credit scores. Currently, the credit is 580 or above. There's a little hits with the credit scores being low. So if your score is above 640 or higher, you qualify for the best interest rates.
Okay, thank you, Billy. All right, any other questions? I see April said she just wants general information on the process.
Yeah.
Do you want to start from the top?
Yeah, I'll just answer that top question from Lanisha. Is it true 100% disabled veterans do not have to pay property taxes? So that is actually true. You have to, what ends up happening is there's no funding fee for 100% disabled veterans. And when you purchase the home, you actually have to present it to the county and apply for it. And they'll grant it to you. Usually it takes a couple of months. I mean, with COVID, I'm not sure how long it takes now, but in the past, usually it would take a couple of months, and then they would grant it. You wouldn't get it initially, so you would have to pay the taxes first, but they would reimburse it once it actually becomes approved.
All right, so we got the next question from Adele. She was pre-approved, but she thinks that it expired. Do we have to go over the entire process again?
It depends who you pre-approved with. So if you
I think she was pre-approved by you guys.
by you guys, yeah. So with us, it's easy. Just to extend the pre-approval, we would just need like, an updated pay stub or an updated bank statement. But you wouldn't have to go through the whole process again. It's just an easy, just an update of it, as long as nothing materially changed on your current employment status.
All right. So I wanted to start, how do you want to do this? So I'll jump in or?
Go ahead. You want to start with the process, basically?
Some of the basic things, and I wanted to thank everybody for being here, and Eric and Billy, and putting this together also. So everybody's here because they want to learn about the home buying process. Is everybody a home buyer? Are there any home sellers here?
I believe everybody here is a buyer.
If anybody isn't a buyer, then just chime in on that, and I'll talk about the selling process also. But as far as in the chat, but I'm going to assume that everybody's a buyer. So the first step to take when you're buying a home is obviously to educate yourself about what's going on in the market, and that's why I'm glad that everybody is here. Sellers are listening to the offers from the most qualified buyers. And that's not to be confused with the highest offer. Obviously, money is important to a seller, money is important to a buyer. But a lot of times there's competing offers and you're all within a few dollars of each other on a home. And if there's a good listing agent on the other side, an informed listing agent, that person's going to be looking at who's the most ready to transact. And
what do you mean by that?
That means that if they say yes to your offer, then you're getting a home inspector out there in the next day or two. You're at least requesting it right away, as though it should be in the same breath that you're doing that. Your mortgage, you should have selected what lender you're going to work with, provided the documents that they need, which is income, credit, and assets. Billy will go through that also. Well, the credit they'll run, but the income and asset documents to show that you're financially ready to proceed. And selected your real estate attorney. And we're going to let and Eric's going to talk about the importance of having, or what the attorney role is in New York State, if it is an attorney state with transactions. So the most ready that you are to transact, the better chance you have of getting your offer accepted. Now, the other thing is, because a lot of times a buyer is going to ask, what will the seller take? What will they look at for money on the deal? And the thing is now, it's not like it was in the past, where the seller might have a number in their mind, the listing agent might know it. You might have an idea where to go. You're competing with other buyers. And if these other buyers are hungrier because they need a home more than you, or they've been looking for a home longer than you, and they've been outbid 2, 3, 4, 5 times on other homes, they might come in and want to make a really strong offer above asking price from day one. So the seller is going to listen to the buyers that are presented to them as far as the money that they're offering, but again, also that the people are prepared, that their pre-approvals are solid, that they're current, that their loan officers are available to help explain anything if need be, and that the attorney is a professional real estate attorney who will help get this transaction into contract, protect you, and get everything understood. So why don't we, at this point, how about Eric, you want to explain a little bit about the importance and the role of a real estate attorney?
Absolutely. So understand. So when you're making an offer on the house and the offer is accepted, going back to what Dean said, the importance of having a real estate attorney ready to go, so that after you do your home inspection and the contract is sent out, because really what the seller is going to be looking for is not only the strongest offer, but who's going to act the fastest. And so it's important to have a real estate attorney that's ready to go in terms of getting the contract, reviewing the contract, making comments to the contract, and making changes to the contract that protect you, the purchaser, because the seller's attorney is the one that drafts the contract. So they're going to be drafting a contract with an eye towards protecting their client. My job in that instance is to make sure that you're protected, that we change and alter the contract to make sure that it fits with your needs, and to structure the transaction in a way that makes it as stress-free and easy as possible for you. So when you get your offer accepted and you're doing your home inspection, we're going to be reviewing the contract, making sure that it's good. And then when the home inspection comes through, we can review that as well. And we do that all, it's a time sensitive matter because you want to make sure that you get into contract as quickly as possible before another buyer comes in and outbids you. So we're there to make sure that that's expedited, that we're doing all the things that we need to do to go over the contract, to discuss with you the home inspection, to make sure that anything in terms of the home inspection that you would like the seller to address, whether it's repair or a credit or whatever it might be. So we negotiate with the seller's attorney on that. We work with Dean and Evantz on that as well to make sure that we come to what's called a meeting of the minds. Once that's done and everything is good and to your satisfaction, then we basically go over the contract of sale. It used to be all the time that the clients would come into my office and we would do it. I still do have clients coming into the office that want to, and we do it socially distant, or in most instances these days, we're doing it over the phone via DocuSign. So we send the contract to you, you have it on your computer, we go over it, and you can actually sign it on the computer with an electronic signature, hit finish, and it automatically comes back to us and we send it to the attorney. And then we make arrangements to have the down payment transferred over. That, especially these days, is very important because you want to make sure that there are no delays due to the fact because of the pandemic and a lot of people are working at home and not getting together. So we've structured the firm, especially in the past year, to make sure that we can account for that and still get things done quickly and get the contract and the down payment over to the seller's attorney so that they can have their client sign and get it fully into contract. And then at that point, then I guess we can, someone else can take the ball rolling and go on mortgages and stuff like that, and we can go back to closing later.
Okay, so Evans, do you want to add right now as far as, or you want to go right to the Billy with the mortgage?
Let's go to the beginning, basically. So depending on where everybody is right now, so you identify that you want to purchase a property, you feel it's the right time, you're ready to do it. So the first thing I would suggest you do is find a realtor and start with that. And then from there, basically, you get your pre-approval from your loan officer. After you get your pre-approval, you know exactly what you want to spend. With the realtor, you go over what areas you want to be in. So you'll identify what areas, what locations, how close you want to be to the schools and stuff like that. You'll figure that out basically with your realtor. After you do that, you have your consultation with your realtor. You'll go out looking at homes. Now remember, because of COVID, we're doing things slightly different. Majority of the time, any houses that you need to see, a lot of the realtors and the homeowners actually are asking that you be pre-approved before you can come into the home. Then you'll have disclosures that you'll need to fill out for COVID. So just stating that you haven't had any access to anyone who had COVID in the last 14 days or whatever the time frame is now, because those forms are constantly getting updated as well. So those things need to be sent over to the listing agent and then they confirm the appointment. Now, when you make the appointment, they stress this a lot, depending on where you're going, the primaries only. So basically, if it's husband and wife, mother, daughter, or whatever the combination is, just the primaries be there. So you can't bring Aunt Becky, Grandma Gertrude, the kids. You can't bring the extra kids with you. Like, just bring the primaries there. The reason why is because just like you, we want to keep you safe and the sellers want to be safe as well. So just trying to minimize your exposure, basically, to going to random places. A lot of the properties also are offering virtual tours. So you want to take advantage of that as well. If they have a virtual tour, take a look at the virtual tour. You can see in the video if it's something that's going to fit your criteria, what you're looking for, and then you can knock it out. If it doesn't fit what you're looking for, you don't need to waste time traveling to go see it if it doesn't fit what you're looking for. And then just focus on the main ones that, all right, we want to knock these ones out. And these three basically we definitely love. We want to go look at them to make offers and put, our best offers in. And Dean, I'll let you finish this part. After they see the property, make the offer.
All right, so when the offer the process is basically when the offer goes in, again, assuming there's a good listing agent on the other side, they're going to want to speak to the loan officer also and just validate that pre-approval is current, that your money is liquid. The thing at the beginning, the way the down payment goes is depending on what % you're putting down, you have to give them something that will show that you're a serious buyer. skin in the game, it's called, whatever you want to call it, but it's more than just a small deposit. So if you were doing an FHA loan and putting down 3.5%, it would be anticipated that you would be putting down 3.5% on contract. So if you're buying a house for $500,000, 3.5% of that is $17,500. That would be your initial deposit on contract. That's the amount that you would be expected to write a check for in a couple of days, and you should have that available when you're looking for a home. If you were making a larger deposit, if you were someone who was putting down 20 or 25% down, probably they'd ask you for a little bit more than that, between 5 and 10% of the purchase price. But you just need to have, it's called earnest money, and it is just that. It's money it's money that's held with the seller's attorney to show that you're interested in the home, to take the home off the market for the time it takes you to get the mortgage and close. So Billy, why don't you tell them a little bit about, like the mortgage process now?
Absolutely. So the process begins, usually what we do is we take a quick application where we're just asking you some cursory information, name, date of birth, social security number, where you work, how long you've been working at your job, what purchase price range are you looking at, how much money do you have on hand that you're looking to put down, is any of the money that you're going to be using gift money, is it money that you already have in your account. We'll run your credit at that time. What we do is we'll send you an email then with a list of all the documents we need. And the documents are usually just 2 years tax returns, 2 years W-2s, 1 month of current pay stubs, and your last 2 months asset statements, both either your credit, your bank statements, and any retirement accounts that you may have. Once we have all those documents sent to us, we'll analyze everything. There may be some questions that we have regarding it, and then we'll issue a pre-approval letter. We'll send it to you and also your agents, so they have it, knowing that you've fully been pre-approved by us by checking your credit, income, and assets. The pre-approvals are good for 120 days. At that point, if you haven't found the house at that time, it's really easy. Just call me up and say, hey, Billy, I need an extended pre-approval. This one expired. We can issue one, no problem. Usually we just ask for like an updated pay slip to show that you're still working at your current job and nothing has materially changed. At that point, once you found the house and everything's good, what we do is we discuss the different loan scenarios that you may have depending upon the amount of money you're looking to put down and your credit score and everything. There's 3 main loan types that are available right now. There's conventional financing, which is more for people that are putting 20% down. Usually they go for that. There's VA loans where you can borrow if you're a veteran up to 100% financing on a property. And there's also FHA loans where you can put as little as 3.5% down. And it's great for first-time home buyers where they're able to buy a house with little money out of their pocket. We also offer a Sony May loan, which is a New York State loan. It's only for properties in New York State, but they do offer a grant program. So if you do qualify for it, it's a little hard to qualify. So that's not easy for everyone. But if you do qualify for that, then it's also a great program that has really low rates, and they offer an up to $15,000 seller's credit towards either your closing costs or your down payment, which helps out tremendously. Once we decide what type of loan program, we give you what your payment will be, so you have an understanding just based off what your payment's going to be, how much your monthly liability will be, how much house you can afford. And then the process is really smooth. It'll go in for approval. Once the loan goes in for approval, we'll have conditions that have to be cleared. And at that point, once the conditions are cleared, we do an appraisal on the property. We get the valuation of the property to see how much it's worth. And then everything goes into the underwriter for final review. And then they'll clear the file to close and you're homeowners. All right, that's a quick slim down version. But if you have any, a lot more interesting questions, I'm here for it.
All right, so we had a question that was asked. Dean already answered it, but just in case you guys were wondering, the question was from Selma. Basically, as far as the fees for home inspection, attorney, realtor fees, what are the average ballpark figures that are needed to have a hand to expedite the process? And Dean already answered it. So Dean, you want to give the answer?
Yeah, I mean, the couple fees up front, you're gonna have to buy pay for a home inspection. A home inspection is about $550 to $650 from the average home inspector. Attorney fees, I mean, I did write on there, I wrote $1,250 to $1,500. It's just as a ballpark fee, just to get an idea of where you're at. And the bank is going to have an appraisal fee. Even the attorney fee is usually, I think it's half up front, half at closing, but, and the bank has an appraisal fee. Billy, what's the appraisal fees about?
For single family houses, that $450.
Okay, so.
Yeah, if it's a two family.
I wrote. I think I wrote 550, but,
Yep.
all right. That's it. There are no realtor fees. Sellers pay the realtor. It's the way that Evantz and I operate. And, so there's not going to be any charge for our services from you. And, couple of other things that could be out of pocket prior to closing is homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
To buy an insurance policy. This is going to be, Billy, how far before closing?
For the insurance, usually you want the quote ahead of time when once you first have a contract, just so you kind of have an idea who you're using. But you don't bind it until after you have the loan approved. So usually we want to finalize like a week before closing.
Right, that's your homeowner's insurance, your fire and liability, and flood insurance if you're buying by the water. If it's not flood insurance, the prices are about 12 to 1,500 a year.
Right around.
And
Okay,
if you're driving, basically, most likely you can always get a bundle. Basically, just find out whichever service that you're using currently, find out what their rates are, and then work with them. You can always refinance with a different insurance company after.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anthony asked the question: does your credit need to be rerun when getting a pre-approval extension?
So ideally, we would like to repull your credit at that time. Sometimes we hold off if we know your credit's pristine. If it's a little iffy, then we do require the credit being repulled. But your credit report's good for 120 days. So we would need it if, let's say, you're closing like 90 days in and you just started finding a house at that point. We would have to update your credit report anyway, just because it will expire during the process.
so here's a question that I'm always hearing asked. What's the downside of rerunning your credit? So some people to say, I don't want my credit rerun again. So what's the downside of that?
Great question there. So the downside, unfortunately, is, depending upon if you open any credit, any delinquencies, anything that may pop up. I mean, that's the only negative that could really be.
What if nothing changed? What if I know, let's say it was for me, and I know that my credit today, how I behave with credit is the same as 4 months from now?
Then there's absolutely nothing to worry about, because at that time frame, it's already been past the time limit. You've had 4 months where no one's run your credit. Hopefully, you haven't been applying or with other companies, or you haven't had your credit run by applying for auto loans, credit cards, anything like that that would bring your credit down. As long as your credits remain the same, you have nothing to worry about.
So how bad is an inquiry for credit score? Let's say one inquiry.
If any, so in the beginning, it's about a 2-point hit when you first have your credit run. During a 14-day time period, you can have your credit run by a couple different companies. They'll all have the same credit score, as long as the credit agencies haven't updated the liabilities with each one. So your credit card companies and the insurance and the auto companies, they report different times to the credit bureaus. Now, the credit bureaus just take that information and they only update your credit reports once a month. So every credit agency does it a different time period. They may gather the information from 2 months ago and have it applied. But you say, hey, I paid everything off a month ago. Well, it might not show yet on your credit report. And one of the positive things that we actually can do, we work with credit restoration, where I can analyze your credit report right there off our credit analyzer. And I could tell you if you need to pay down a debt or not to qualify, or if you have to pay some off, I can help you get a score up a little bit to get a better interest rate.
So if somebody's credit score though was 696 and they applied for a mortgage and then they had their credit updated again, it might drop to 694 or 692, but it would
it's possible, or it might even go up. I mean, a lot of times it really depends on the overall debt to max credit limit analyzation that you guys have. So you might not have it utilized. Like come Christmas time, everyone's credit cards are usually up higher. The holidays. After the bills are paid and they kind of go down a little bit more. So it, really depends when everything is updated with the credit agencies. But there's very little that you have to worry about as long as you haven't affected your credit report by being late or delinquent. You have nothing to worry about.
Okay, so we have a question regarding closing costs. Lanisha basically wanted to know, aren't most of these fees included in the closing costs? Eric, could you answer this question? What's included in the closing costs?
Yeah, sure. So your closing costs will include, beyond your down payment, closing costs will include your bank fees. So the bank is going to have certain charges in terms of processing your loan. So you're going to have some bank fees. You're going to have, you can have some escrows. They're going to take escrows for your taxes and insurance. So that's going to be deducted. All that's deducted from your loan amount. So if you're applying for $400,000 and the bank has $5,000 in fees and $3,000 in escrows, you're actually, while you're applying for, let's say, $500,000, you're only going to get $492,000 of the five. So that $8,000 is your closing costs, and that's going to be deducted from the loan amount. In addition to that, you have your title costs. So in order for you to be protected, you would need a title insurance policy, which means that you have 100% ownership interest, and it's a one-time fee that you pay, and the title insurance is regulated by the state depending on the price of the property you're buying. And then there are searches run as well by the title company to make sure there are no violations, to make sure there are certificates of occupancy, to make sure they do bankruptcy searches, tax searches, so we know what the real estate taxes are, all kinds of searches. So all those things are encompassed in your closing costs. And usually, if you when you come and you talk to me, we can give you an estimate of your title bill, and usually Billy can probably give you an idea of what your bank fees are going to be. So between the two of us, we can give you an idea of what your closing costs are going to be on a given property based upon the price of the house and the amount of the mortgage you're getting.
Right. And I think some of the, I guess, confusion with the word closing costs is you're looking at usually people looking at, well, what's all the money that I need to close on the transaction? It's just some of the closing costs are not paid at closing. So like a survey might be considered a closing cost, but you have to pay for it at the time when you're getting the survey done. There's just certain providers that are needed to be hired throughout the process. And those providers, like a surveyor, like a home inspector, like an appraiser, need to be paid for their services at the time the services are incurred. But it is technically the cost to close on a transaction.
The other thing
Right,
with the closing costs, basically, you're going to get an itemized list of everything, like Eric mentioned. So you'll know exactly basically what you're paying for, where each money is going.
Right. The list doesn't change. Just some items are paid in advance and some are paid at closing. That's all.
All right, Eric, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that yeah, they're all closing costs. I mean, you're paying the first year's homeowner's insurance up front. That's a closing cost. Your attorney's fee is a closing cost. Your home inspection is a closing cost. And then there are fees that are associated with the I guess the nuts and bolts of the transaction, like mortgage tax and title costs and bank fees and things like that. So you add it all together, but it's certainly easy enough for us as real estate professionals to be able to break it down for you and let you know where everything is coming from, so that at the end of the day, you have an idea of how much money you're going to need at closing beyond your down payment in order to buy the property.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Billy's answering this question right now. So, Billy, if you want to read this, basically, whatever your answer is.
Sure. The question is regarding VA income. Is it best to use just the veteran's income or include the spouse's income? It's absolutely either way works as long as it qualifies. Ideally, we want to use both veteran and spouse at first just to see what the income is. So my advice is always send for the pre-approval all the income. And then when I analyze it, I could tell you specifically, maybe it's better to leave the spouse off it and just do it solely in the veteran's name, where the spouse remains untitled but isn't on the mortgage, and we wouldn't use it because sometimes, one person's credit may be good, the other person's isn't. So that's something when we structure a loan, we can kind of work in depth on and tell you how to do it.
And that's for VA and also for other types of loans as well.
Absolutely.
All right. So we got Lanisha asked the question, what if the house is brand new? never been occupied or being built. I think she's asking regarding the title and whatnot. Is it Lanisha,
Everything, that's a very different situation, and it's a good question, because there are a lot of extra fees that are usually associated with buying a new construction. Let me give you an example. So when you're buying a new construction, when you're buying a regular house rather, or property, the seller is the one that pays the transfer taxes. So transfer taxes can be anywhere from 1.5% to close to 2%, depending on the price of the house. But the seller pays it. On new construction, the buyer pays the transfer taxes. So that's something that's traditional. You could always try to negotiate that, maybe split it, get a credit towards it, but that's extra. Also, you're paying for the water tap fee, and you're paying for the installation of the water meter, and you're paying for, there's a lot of extra fees and costs that will be included in a contract of sale for a new construction that are not included in a pre-existing home. So that's the downside of it. On the plus side is when you buy a new construction, you're getting a warranty from the builder. So you could get, it'll be, and it's standard New York warranty. It's set by law that they can give you more, but they can't give you less. So you may get, 2 years towards, the plumbing, heating, electrical systems. You may get 3 years towards general workmanship and 6 years towards the foundation and structure, something along those lines. So you will always have that warranty for a new house that you don't get, obviously, when you buy a pre-existing home. But you need to pay close attention if you're buying a new construction to what the extra fees are. And also one other thing, those fees might be negotiable, because anything's negotiable in that instance. It depends on how much interest there is in the house, how long that builder has had the house for, whether they're desperate to get rid of it, or whether there's a bidding war. So you have to know the situation, and based on that, you have to be able to, at the very least, know what the fees and costs are for a new construction up front before you go into it and possibly negotiate it with the seller.
all right, so I think that answers all of Lanisha's questions. All right, Anthony has a question regarding making offers. This kind of ties into what Eric just said. When making an offer on a home, how long can the seller wait to either accept or deny the offer? Specifically, can the seller hold off on responding to wait for other offers to come in? That really depends on the market and where you're purchasing right now in this market. Dean, you want to answer the rest of
Yeah,
this?
I'm going to answer the seller. Honestly, the seller is the listing agent is a licensed real estate professional, and is supposed to abide by the MLS rules. They should have an answer for you within 24 hours. But, and Anthony, you've seen this, it's not always the case. They just don't all follow the rules. And it's supposed to be 24 hours. But the one thing I want to say is, even if they verbally accept an offer, you hear this term accepted offer. The accepted offer is not really an accepted offer until the contracts are signed, your deposit check is delivered and cashed by the seller's attorney. They will most likely continue, not all of them, but a lot of them will continue to show the home to see if, quote unquote, something better comes along. But the equal and opposite of that is as a buyer. When you say, I like this house, my offer is accepted, your eyes are still roaming at other homes, so you're doing the same thing. So both sides are kind of, yes, we want this house. Yes, we want to act fairly. And yes, we want to be, respectful, but we're still looking out for our interest, and they're still looking out for their interest. So, but when there's an accepted offer, if you want to call it like a handshake, honestly, like 75 to 90% of the times, if more, not more, Evans, I believe, they go through. It's just on occasion they don't.
All right, and Adele is asking a question. I was told that the pre-approval, what the pre-approval is done, is it done in the area that you expressed interest in? What if you change your mind and for that area, and what happens there?
So that's a great question. So ideally, I do a pre-approval based on the area that you're looking at, because the property taxes in specific areas change. Like if you buy in the boroughs, taxes are less than when you buy in Nassau or Suffolk or Westchester. So if you end up changing your mind and you want to look at different areas, by all means, give me a call right away so I can update the pre-approval letter based on the taxes and the neighborhoods that you're looking at.
Yeah, so they're pre-approving it based on total payment, not necessarily where the house is, but like
Correct.
the payment's going to change with the taxes.
All right, any other questions? Then we'll go through the process a little more. All right, so you made your offer, got accepted, you did the home inspection. At this point, you're going through the home inspection report with the agent. You're going through all the stuff on the report. You're focusing on the most important things, which are mostly foundation, the major things, basically, the things that you definitely need to get changed and whatnot. So those are the things that you would focus on, especially in this market right now. Once you and the agent go through the list, you send over basically, here's a list of the stuff that we want to get fixed or remedied. And then the seller side basically will go through that list as well. And they'll either say yes or no to a few of those things. So all those things or none of those things. So at that point, you decide if you want to move forward or not. And if you move forward and they move forward, then the contract basically is written up. And Eric, I guess this is when you step in.
Yeah. So basically then the sellers, as I said before, the seller's attorney will send over a contract, a proposed contract with their terms and conditions, and I will review it and I'll mark it up. And if I don't like a bunch of terms, I will ask that they be changed. I can add certain things depending on what the specific client needs in terms of closing date and terms and things in the contract that I feel it might be a danger to you. So I'll work that out. And once that's worked out with the seller's attorney, then we will either get together in person or online and sign and get the contract back to the seller's attorney with the down payment check. And then once the seller signs and the down payment check is cashed and the contract's returned to us fully executed, we will then forward the fully executed contract to you and to your lender, to Billy, and then get started. Now, that's when all of the dates start. Now, that's kind of important because the contract dates, all the contract dates start, the contingencies, like your mortgage. You may have 45 days to get a mortgage under the contract. That's going to start to run when we get back a fully executed contract from the seller, not from when you sign, but from the seller signs and gets us back the contract. So you may have 45 days to get the mortgage. If you need additional time, it's our job to monitor that. And if you don't have a mortgage yet, we ask for extensions. In the meantime, you're working on getting your mortgage, and I'm ordering title to make sure that that title is clean to the property so that you get a title policy and that's free of violations, the house, no judgments, no liens, everything like that. We do a survey, make sure all the structures are legal, make sure there are no misplaced fences on the property, things like that. So that's kind of the process. Now, in general, it's a 60 to 90-day process these days in terms of contract to closing. And do you want me to proceed to what happens at closing, or do you want me to?
Well, let's jump into the mortgage part, which I think Billy already mentioned.
Yeah, we want.
So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So just, at that point, once the contracts are fully executed, the contracts go to me. What we end up doing is we analyze a contract. We then send out initial loan disclosures to you, in which you'll review and electronically sign. In those disclosures, they'll have the loan estimate, which have a breakdown of all the estimated closing costs and everything, which is important, along with what your proposed payment's going to look like. At that point, we can lock in your rate once you sign your disclosures. So we'll go over what the interest rate is currently for that day. If it's something you want to lock, you could lock in then, or we can lock in your loan later in the process. At that point, loan goes into opening where they'll order an appraisal. We order verifications of employment. We contact the IRS. We get verification of your tax returns and your W-2s. So we're waiting for these documents to come in. You'll then be contacted by our processor. They'll send you a welcome letter, just introducing themselves, and they'll reach out to you if there's any updated documentation they'll need. The documents will come in. It then goes to the underwriter for a commitment. We have the loan approved. And at that point, then it's really just clearing the conditions, getting your homeowner's insurance in place, making sure the title is free and clear from any issues the seller may have previously on the title report. And then we get everything ready for closing and set a closing date.
All right, so now the closing date is set. Now you're going to meet with the attorney. We're going to hear back from the lender. You're going to meet with the attorney, basically, hey, we have a clear to close. And then this is when Eric steps in to schedule the closing.
Right. So once I know that there's a clear to close, I've seen title. Title is clear. The sellers worked out any title issues they might have. We've gotten a survey in. The survey looks good. I see that all structures are legal. I see that there are no issues for you, so that when you walk out of that closing, you're going to have 100% ownership interest and free and clear of all other issues to start with. Clean slate for you. And so once I see all that, then I work with the seller's attorney, with the title company, with the lender's attorney to schedule a closing. So there's a number of people that have to come together to schedule the closing. So we basically send out a lot of emails. We get on the phone. I reach out to you. When would you like to close? You may have a rate lock expiration. The seller may have some issues. So we work it all out between all the parties, and we set a closing date. We try to do it far enough in advance so that we have time to get to get all the documents ready, so that when the bank sends us the loan net, the amount of money you have available from your loan to put towards the closing, we let you know what kind of checks you need to bring, and so that you have time to go get your bank checks and do your final walkthrough, which will happen usually the day before the day of the closing. And you're going to do a complete and total walkthrough to make sure that everything is the way it should be. That either the house is in the same condition as it was when you first signed the contract, or if the seller was required to do some repairs or some changes, that those things were done before the closing. So you're going to do your walkthrough, and you're going to check all the systems. You're going to bring a phone and a charger, put in all the plugs.
I was just about to talk about that part.
Okay, so basically, because Evantz is the one that's there. So Evantz, why don't you talk about
All right,
that?
so once we have the closing date, like Eric said, we're gonna do the walkthrough usually the day before or usually the morning of. What I usually instruct our buyers basically to do is bring, like Eric said, bring a charger. We all have one. You probably have one in the car. If you don't have one, I'll usually have one in the car. Bring a charger. We're gonna plug these in every outlet, make sure they're all working. And how we agreed on the house was gonna be delivered is how we want to get it for you.
If there was anything that needed to be fixed, if there was a handrail that needed to
Yeah.
be installed, we're just going to check that it was done.
So we're gonna make sure all those things were taken care of, and we're gonna walk. Usually the walk through takes about 10 to 15 minutes. We walk around the house, we view everything. I usually instruct the agent, the clients basically to turn on all the waters basically in the sinks, turn them on, make sure they're all working, flush the toilets. We already talked about plugging the outlets in the walls. If there's an AC unit, you turn it on, make sure it's working. Same thing with the heat. Just make sure everything's working, and then once that's done, you give us the thumbs up. You're going to let your agent, the agent and the attorney know, hey, thumbs up, and then we go to the closing. If there's a thumbs down, if there's some issues on something that's there that was supposed to be fixed that wasn't fixed, we're going to let the attorney know, and the attorney is basically going to talk that over with the other attorney at closing, and then you're going to go to closing. Like Eric said, you're going to have a conversation with Eric or his staff about what paperwork you need. You're going to need your ID. You're going to need some checks. They'll let you know in advance how much money you need to bring, check-wise, and stuff like that. You're going to be sitting there for about, how long would you say, Dean?
It's probably usually somewhere between an hour and 15 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how quickly things go and how quickly. Sometimes the banks need what's called funding approval. So we may have to sign certain documents that the bank attorney, they may have to fax or email over to the bank to see that they were signed correctly and everything's good before they allow the bank attorney to disperse the checks and finish the closing. So I would say on average about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes.
All right, so you're gonna get comfortable. You'll sit, they'll tell you where you're gonna be sitting and whatnot. Depending on the office, some places they have the buyers in one room, the sellers in another room because of COVID. They rarely have everybody together in the same room. The other thing, like Eric said, you're gonna be there for a while. You're gonna get a stack of papers that you're gonna be signing. Let's just use this as an example. It's probably gonna be bigger than this. The stack of papers. Most of the time for the sales part, basically, they just got to sign off on a few things. You, the buyer, you're signing a lot of things. And the best part is your attorney's sitting there with you. They'll be going over everything that you're signing. So you'll know exactly what it is that you're signing for. And once that's all said and done, everything's signed. We got to wait for the bank to transfer the money over. Once that's said and done, you get the special moment. Keys are transferred from usually I'll grab the keys from whoever, basically hand them over to the buyer or whatever the case may be. And congratulations, you are now a homeowner.
At key time,
Usually-
we ask you, you guys have any, we haven't seen any questions in a while. Do you have any, we've gone from
13
thank you for
questions.
attending the seminar to here's your keys. Seems like we've completed everything.
Yeah, so like there'll be a few things along the way basically that we can answer. It's a lot basically to put into 30 minutes.
Guys, I just want to tell you, if you're working with us, we have a conversation with you, open dialogue, about what's next throughout the whole process, because everyone's always asking what's next. We used to call these the what's next seminars. It's because as you go along, we're going to be letting you know this is what goes next. This is what goes next. This is what to expect from your loan officer. This is when it's time to talk to the attorney. This is what the seller is going to do. So we'll be with you every step of the way, so that you feel that you're in control and understanding and clear of what's going on. So.
All right, at this portion of the segment, we're gonna ask for your questions. So fire them away. What questions do you guys have? If there's anything that you want us to talk about more, we got some questions already. Hold on. Okay, Evans, how far in New York North do you go with your jurisdiction and houses? That is a good question.
You want me to answer?
You go ahead.
We're licensed in New York State, so technically we can go anywhere, but we're only going to be good as far as a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
with more local up to the Bronx at the most. Past where we're going to be effective, we can refer you to some other agents that we're close with, and we can still have that conversation with you along the way. But then somebody else would actually be showing you the homes in other neighborhoods.
Yeah, we want to make sure that basically you're getting the best service possible. So if there's an area that we're not familiar with, we're definitely going to refer you to the best person. All right. If you don't have an attorney, is there one to recommend? Yes. Hey, Eric, if you don't have an attorney, who can we recommend?
I wonder.
I don't know. I have at least one really good idea.
Hey, Joe, I haven't called with you, but yes, we recommend good people. Eric,
you want to share? You want to share with the group as I change your name? Hold on.
Who, me? Yeah. I mean, you know, there is this attorney, Eric Firestone, that's supposed to be really, really good. Heard a lot of good things about him. Listen, look, my firm is a dedicated real estate firm. That's all we do. We don't do anything more than that. We don't go to court. We don't do wills. We don't do matrimonial. We do real estate, and we've been doing it a long time. And it's what we specialize in, and we take great pride in that.
I'm glad you brought that up. You definitely want somebody who's full-time. You'll find that basically if you're using a union attorney, their attention's on other matters. Most of the time when you're looking at houses will probably be after work hours, probably like after 5, 6 and whatnot. And those trial attorneys and union attorneys are probably not working at that moment, or they might be on different cases. The real estate attorney, like Eric just said, that's their bread and butter is real estate. And that's what they're going to focus on. Obviously, if you need a recommendation, you're going to reach out to your realtor or your loan officer, and they'll recommend someone. But you want people that basically you want professionals that basically other people had good experiences with. So if you reach out to your loan officer or your agent, they're going to recommend you the best people that they work with. So that's why these professionals that are speaking today, basically, we've had good turnouts basically with our past clients, and so that's why we've stayed together.
And Lanisha, yes, Evans will send out an email with everybody's contact information.
Yes.
So yes to that.
Everybody who's here, basically who signed up, they're gonna be getting an email with some phrases on real estate terms that most likely they'll be hearing, that they'll want to know about. So you'll be getting an email on that. You'll get our contact information as well. And then I have. If you go to my YouTube page, we do have videos on different subjects when it comes to real estate. And there's a lot of common questions that are asked. If you probably heard them today, they were answered today, and you probably didn't click with you today, but it might click tomorrow. If you want to, you can always go to my YouTube page. I have a lot of questions that are answered there. We have a segment called Ask the Realtor. We have a couple of videos that we've done with Billy and Angelo, and a couple with Eric as well. Hold on a second. Will there be an email follow-up after the Zoom for everyone's comment? Yes, we already answered that one. All right, so answered live. All right. What other questions do you guys have while we're still here? Any other questions? I guess not. If there's no other questions, we're gonna end right here.
All right.
Want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Dean, Angelo, Billy, and Eric. Well, for those of you who don't know, Angelo basically is Billy's brother. They work together.
Correct. Yep.
And they still talk to each other, even though they're
Yes,
brothers.
we do. Shocking.
Thank you, April.
All right. April, thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. So basically,
Thank you, everyone.
this is being recorded, so it'll be on my YouTube page as well. So if you guys have any questions, the next one will be next month. I believe the last Wednesday of next month. So if you guys have
Thank
any
you,
questions,
Selma, everybody for being here, Lanisha.
tell your friends.
All right, and even though this seminar is over now, or whatever we want to call this, it's over. We're still here. You can reach us anytime with any questions.
Not after 8. Not after 8, please.